Dorcas, it's so good to have you here on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to talking with you and seeing what is happening in your life.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Good. Well, I'd like to kind of start these podcasts at the beginning of your life and just to get to know you a little more, where you're from, your early childhood things. If I remember correctly, you're from Canada. Is that true? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was raised, my parents were missionaries to Bahamas, actually, and I was almost born there, but I wasn't. Then we moved back to Ontario, and then when I was 4, we moved to Quebec, which is entirely French, so that was kind of a neat experience. The rest of Canada is not near as French.
So do you speak French?
Not at all.
I thought maybe I'd get a French lesson.
We actually started pastoring a little Free Methodist church. There's not there's not much of, Nazarene, Wesleyan, that's not in Canada at all. But this little Free Methodist church invited us to come and pastor there. So it tended to attract all of the non-French speaking people. So we had a lot of diversity in that church. It was pretty neat growing up. And then when I was 11, we moved way up north to the Northland of Ontario. Oh,
wow. So how far north from here in Cincinnati?
It's 18 hours.
18 hours.
Straight up, yeah.
Wow. That is...
So it was a big climate change when coming down for sure. Yeah.
So do you love cold weather and hockey
I love hockey.
Okay.
I love hockey. Quebec, growing up, every little town had little skating rinks. So that was 3 to 4...
So you play?
I play. I love it, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yes,
well,
actually,
maybe we need to get some secret video of Dorcas checking somebody into the wall.
A couple years ago, my husband, for my 40th birthday, he rented a rink and invited all my brothers. We got back together, and I think a lot of friends. There was a lot.
Wow.
Played hockey for the first time in 20 years, so that was fun.
So you're way up north in Canada,
Yes.
and you're doing kind of missions work, and how in the world did you get connected with God's Bible School?
Well, when I was young, I always had a passion for ministry. I remember we moved a lot, so I remember the grocery stores we'd go into, and I look back on it now as an adult, and I realized that God was putting things in my heart when I was very, very little.
Oh, wow.
Just going into a store, I'd wave at people. I always felt responsible for anyone in the room, that maybe my smile could help them to know Jesus. Oh. And that was very little. So my parents did something just to plant that in my heart.
Was that a heavy thing, or was it just kind of the joy of the Lord is shining through you?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just, I guess it was who I was. And I look back on some of that. I don't know that all of that can be trained into you.
Yeah.
I think God puts some of that.
I agree.
Naturally in you as a kid. But yeah, I remember being pretty little and crying and begging my mom to start a kids club on our porch. And she'd just be like, we can't do it. I know I was 6 because I know what house it was. But just, God put those things naturally inside of me. But when I was 12, moving on a little older, I felt like God really put, just felt like God really, really spoke to me about going to the inner city.
Oh, okay.
And I read some of the books of Nicky Cruz, The Cross and the Switchblade.
Yes.
And just couldn't get away from it.
Wow.
So it was very close.
So were you in a city type setting up there? Was it more rural?
Very rural.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go to Toronto, it was 8 hours north.
Oh my. Okay.
And so there's a little town about 5,000 people, and we were 3 miles out down a dirt road.
Wow.
And
so this was random. So it's not like you were raised in a city and you felt drawn. It was that's a big deal, right?
Yes,
to be in a rural environment and to feel drawn to the city. Was it scary, or was it just kind of?
Not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. So right about that time, then I started a kids club. There was we had a big metal barn in our property, and it was paved, and the floor of it was, and we put a little ad in the paper, and I was 12 years old, and put a little ad in the paper that would come in town and pick up kids. So my dad started driving me in, and I'd go knock on doors and would bring the kids to our shed. And the first couple of weeks, we just played hockey. That was Canada,
Yeah.
And the kids liked that. So, and then I started telling them a story and a song, and gradually worked up into creating themes. And then my siblings really got into it, and we did a lot of plays and stuff there in our town. So
how long did this last? You're 12 years old?
Up until I came 18, until I came to college.
Oh, wow.
So it was about 6 years.
Okay.
So it was everything. It was my life.
Wow. So how did you hear about GBS? Was it just kind of a known quantity, or did a PR group come through?
No. They wouldn't have come up there.
I know, yeah.
The closest holiness connection really would have been about 10 hours away. But we had a camp in southern, right along the Niagara River.
Okay.
Beautiful camp. So it was very transformative in my life. just can't overemphasize the importance of that camp. I'm getting together with people that love me and love the Lord.
Sure.
It was just really impactful. So they would have had a lot of GBS speakers there for sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Brown was always there, but Brother Avery came.
Okay.
And I think I was 17. I had just graduated, and he was really pulling for me to come that fall.
Okay.
But he asked me, he said, "What is it that God wants? Do you feel like God, what direction would you take?" And I had never shared, besides my mom, I'd never shared with anyone because it just seemed too far out there to say anything about going to the inner city. It just, for a young girl, it just felt...
From a rural community and...
Canada, and just very locked in, too.
Sure.
I wanted to get married and I wanted to have a future, and to say you're going to the inner city just felt very specific.
Yeah, let me hit pause there because I think there's a lie of Satan that you just exposed just a little bit, and that is, if I accept a call to ministry as a female, then I may not get married. God may just send me off to some random spot to eke out an existence as a single.
For sure.
And that's just not true. Now, it does happen, but it may not happen, right?
And I was surrendered. I felt like there was many points where he had to, we just had to live surrendered. Where he surrendered to that, but I always felt like I wanted to get married, obviously. That was just part of it. But I told him, I remember where I was standing, and he started, filled with tears, and he said, he wanted people to, he'd been praying for that. But that fall, I felt like I shouldn't come that fall, and I waited a year, and it was a very traumatic year.
Oh wow!
A lot of hard things happened that year. I stayed for my kids club, and there's two families split up almost right away, and I was there. They wanted me there to. Anyways, it was a hard time to be with the parents as they were packing up and whatever. For a young girl, it was a lot for me to carry. So emotionally, I kind of broke down that year a little bit,
Yeah, sure.
But the Lord really,
it's heavy.
Yeah, the Lord really used that time to. Kind of passed the baton on to my younger brother. He started leading it then, and it was good.
So you came to GBS. What year would that have been?
2000.
Okay, so...
Came in with the big centenary celebration.
Wow, so I guess we overlapped. I didn't even know it.
Yes, we were 1 year together, I believe.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
I think I had to call you a couple times I was the secretary.
Okay,
so
interesting.
Way back,
That's interesting. So you came to GBS, and there was not... So we had the downtown missions when I was a student in those days. But I don't know that there was a lot of emphasis on kids ministry. I think Laurel Holmes was kind of a kids ministry type event, but Main Street had ebbed and flowed, and I think at that point it was kind of ebbing. So you come in, you're passionate about kids ministry. How did that look? What did you do?
Well, I was. For some reason, during those 6 years of my kids' ministry, I'd always gravitated towards the older ones. So it was actually teens that always had gotten my heart. So the younger kids, I loved them, but it was those. Often I had boys older than me in my kids' club because they loved hockey.
Wow.
So that was just a draw to get, and they were the ones that I always, and some of the older girls, they were the ones that I always gravitated to, even though we were the same age.
I'm sure that was a bit of an anomaly for him. Here's a lady playing hockey in a skirt in northern Canada, and wow.
I don't know. I guess if you love hockey, you've just got something in common,
That's great.
But kids are looking for something to do.
Right.
Right.
They fun. You can have fun and be a Christian, right?
You really can. Yeah. And so we had, a lot of good memories. But coming into here, there was, Sarah Wolf had started a kids club in the park over here.
Yes.
And so that was a big thing happening. And she had just left or was leaving, and she passed it on to my best friend Kim.
Okay.
And then there was 2 kids ministries happening at Main Street in the morning and in the afternoon.
Okay.
But I would go to them, but they didn't. There's like 5 or 6 teens in the back.
Right.
So
and
my
that's
friend
where your
and I
heart
pulled
was,
them. So I right away pulled them upstairs, asked if I could, and we started a teen class.
Oh my.
So it was really pulled them together. And during that time, anyways, there was a lot of really cool things that happened, but we took a missions trip to Chicago. And during that time, there was 8 of us in the van, and we started praying for something to happen here on campus. And we gave up Monday night suppers. We all fasted and prayed and went to the Schmuel Chapel. Probably a year, a long time. We had several other prayer meetings. We would sometimes say Tuesday or Thursday we'd fast and pray for something to happen here on campus.
Praise God.
And it really did. Stuff really happened, and I'll never get away that prayer really makes a difference.
It does.
And again, people unifying. It's not just individual prayer, but the unity of it, of students coming together and praying. It really changed students. and we saw miracles happen.
Wow.
You know, David Hartkoff and I'll never forget the one morning we started a school here, just to train the kids from our teen ministry. We paid for their education. That was a miracle in itself.
Wow.
Anyways, we had that backing up to that. There was a service where Brother Avery just said he wanted to let me share what we were going to do,
Yeah, right.
what our dream was, and they said it was within 5 minutes, almost the whole congregation was on their feet. Like, people were shouting out how much money. And GBS is not always that loud place, you know, like,
wow.
And it was incredible.
So it's God's confirmation.
Yeah.
To a little girl's heart in upstate, or I say upstate, up country, Canada. And it's a confirmation that not only have I called you, but I'm going to give you the resources that you need to accomplish that. Wow.
For sure. Yes.
So you began working in those ministries, and how long before the 6 foot fella came in, Matt,
yes,
your husband?
My husband.
When did he enter the picture, and how did that look?
Yeah, he was about 2 years in. So I'm a little older than him.
Okay.
And he came, and he right away jumped into Teen Power and was just immediately connected. He didn't have a vehicle, but he would walk and pick up kids. There was Wendy's here at Christ Hospital.
Yeah,
He'd go and take neighbor kids up there to the Wendy's, and just every single one of my family.
Okay.
We were like, what about Matt Hallam? You know?
Yeah.
President Avery, just like, what about him, you know? But we just did ministry together.
Okay.
And we really did for about 2 years.
And it was through ministry that
for sure.
your heart for the lost united your heart, and eventually you guys were married. Yeah, so what year were we married?
2005.
Okay.
No, 2006. Graduated in 2005.
We'll edit that out so that nobody knows that you don't know the actual year that you got married.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, maybe not. Oh, so you get married and you continue to work in ministry, right? So you don't get married and chase careers.
No.
You really get married and make sure your careers align with ministry. Is that an accurate
it is
description?
really, and we've looked back on some of that where Matt and I really did choose to align some of those, our purposes, you know. I think that is really important in a marriage, where sometimes you can go off track, or like one person pursues theirs and the other one is kind of left trailing along, or the other, you know. But God really did join us together. It wasn't without a lot of working at it.
Yeah, well, sure.
Nothing's easy. No, you know, you have to work hard. But yeah, some of those choices, and back to a female making some of those decisions, it's not always easy to know what to do, you know, but I did choose to not work that first year, and I homeschooled a boy. He had been put out of the academy for different reasons, and we felt like I should still continue working with him. So that was an intense year of just teaching.
So were you in college too, or
Nope,
were you graduated?
I was, that was my sole investment was him, and then the other 4 students were here in the academy. And so as soon as school was out, they'd all be on my porch.
Oh, wow.
So the evening a lot of times had those students. That was kind of my first year.
You got more and more involved with Main Street to the extent that at some point Matt began the pastor.
Yes,
so
he would have started as a student.
Okay, all right.
He started as a student, so yeah, he was very involved.
Okay. So now you're married, and you alluded to something that I think is important, and that is, marriage isn't always just easy, right? There are decisions, there are points of contention. It's 2 personalities trying to mesh together. And if you think back on that time frame in your life, what advice would you give to somebody else, another girl passionate about ministry, who's in that same kind of decision-making time? What would you say?
Oh, God definitely rewards you. Yes. I think there is all kinds of rewards. I would never have thought that I would marry someone who actually got his PhD in inner city ministry. I mean, that's kind of almost mind-blowing to me that God would do that. In those early years, I would say the husband is shaping a lot of things for the future. They have to really establish themselves, and you have there's a lot of financial needs that are very real, and some of those things have to be established. So some of that, just the contentment and the waiting and focusing on your children during those early years, I think is really it's so foundational. The character and even just the social awareness, all of those things a mom is putting into your kids at very young ages. And to chafe under some of those things and want to do some big and glamorous thing during those early years, I think the sacrifice of really investing in those early years just can't be overemphasized. There were just hours upon hours of training.
So, okay, so this is, I think some people have the idea that you have kids and you just kind of coach them along, and you be there when they skin their knee, and the girls need their hair combed, and that's really the extent. You tell them no.
Yeah.
But you mentioned training. Was that intentional for you?
Yes.
Was there a curriculum you used, or how did you do that? What was the motivation behind it? All of those things.
I think a big motivation for me, and I think it's probably different than a lot of moms, but I think a big motivation for me was every single thing we do is obviously out of love for the Lord, but everything is also that other people are watching and we could be a witness.
Wow.
And I feel like it instills in children, sometimes I think there's a missing link with kids. It's just like everything we're doing is for the Lord. Well, then they get tired and worn out trying to please the Lord. But if they have a mission and if they have a purpose, one of my daughters just said recently that everyone likes to feel like they're a little bit unique and feel like they're a little special, and that they're a little different than others. And if you give them that mission, if you give them that purpose that's greater than just being a Christian, even though that's wonderful,
yeah.
but giving them that greater sense that there are people out there that may never become a Christian if you don't smile at them. Or, so when they were really little, that was just constant. Okay,
so so how would this look? You're sitting at home and it's 6:00, dinner's over, and you enter into a training session, like, here's how you smile at the greeter at Walmart, or how does that look?
That happened at the store a lot, that was, and again, this was important to me, just like to always have the kids' hair really nice, and to have them dressed well when they went out, because I felt like when they went out, if I was this mama with 4 kids, at one point it would have been 5 kids going to the store, and helping to bag, them helping to say, every one of them needed to say thank you to the clerk, that kind of stuff. Now, all of that has changed with my little ones because I do Kroger delivery. So some of the trainings maybe.
So now do you have to go to Kroger on purpose now to train them how?
Seasons do come and go.
So did you have a child that resisted that?
I would say my oldest was definitely my hardest.
Okay.
Caleb people think of him as very mild now, but it was not until he was probably 8 or 9 years old that I could give him a job and he would not stiffen up and resist.
Okay, so all right. How do you deal with that? How did you overcome that?
Every single I'm sure there were times I missed, but every single time we dealt with it.
Okay.
Obedience, I think, is more important than attitude.
Okay.
I think the attitude follows the obedience.
Okay.
But for me, I always got distracted. I often got distracted with the attitude. They'd start crying. I'm like, don't cry, or no, like, just go pick up the toy. Mama asked you to pick up the toy. Do it. I don't know. That's just...
So obedience trumps attitude.
The attitude matters.
Right,
100%.
But it follows. Okay.
For me, it really, and Matt, like that was really, really important to us that they obeyed.
So was it important for you? So let's say Caleb just stiffened up, didn't want to do it, maybe even said no.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Would you let that go?
He wouldn't have often said no, because that was kind of trained. We would not have. That would have been an immediate,
disciplinary
we wouldn't have let
issue.
him say no. But I guess in a way, the attitude in a way was important too, because I didn't want any reaction.
Okay.
So I didn't want any kind of a stiffening. And if he stiffened, then I would often just give him an extra 5 minutes. Okay, I told you to clean up this area. Okay, you're gonna have to clean up both areas.
Okay, so it's more.
And it could that was all during the school day too.
Oh wow.
So.
Okay.
And there were some big battles. I remember one time it was 4 hours.
Okay.
That we just had him sit in the chair until he would just go and empty the dishwasher. And I kept taking more dishes out until there was only like a couple dishes left. Like, Caleb, this is all you have left to do. And he would not get up from that chair and pull out those couple dishes.
But you won, right?
Yes.
4 hours later.
I was like, you've got to pray. I was like, he will not pick up just these simple dishes. Because he was I never had that with another child. Never had that. But he was so strong. And God's going to use it, Wow.
So looking back, your kids are still at home, but they're at an age now where they're probably, it's probably a little more joyful, right?
Yes.
In the sense that you're not always having to correct.
Yes.
What tip would you give to a mother who has 3 kids at home, 5 and under, and it just feels like all they do is change diapers and wash dishes and correct children. What would you say to that mother?
Well, that is all you're doing. And that's okay. Like, it's a good thing. And I think there are things you can do to make it enjoyable, but having that greater purpose, again, going back to that outreach, that you want your children, you want your home to be a channel for the Lord to flow through and to reach out to your neighborhood, to people all around you. It gives you that sense of joy, so that when someone comes into your house, there's not just we're cleaning up the house, but that the house is cleaned up so we could be ready because someone might stop by. There's a lot of ways you can pull that in.
So you even tied some of that early childhood development to ministry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everything we're going to get everything. See, guys, when we get the house all cleaned up, there's inevitably someone always calls and says they want to come over, and we're ready and we can help others. There's always a purpose.
So that's a busy time. Now you can kind of enjoy some of the fruits of those labors, but what about your spiritual development during those times? I've heard mothers talk about how difficult it is to have a meaningful prayer time when you're awakened in the morning by a baby crying, and the last thing you do at night is make sure that they're tucked into their crib, and you're going to get up 3 times tonight, right?
Yes.
What would you say to a mother on the spiritual level? Any advice that you would offer to a worn-out, frazzled mom who just wishes that she could take a nap?
I've been there, definitely been there. I feel that's probably deep on my heart right now is the young moms even here on campus. I just see them and I just want to encourage them because I've been there where you really do feel that trapped. But spiritually, having your devotions is possible. It really is. And I think many times I prayed while feeding babies. That was a very, because you have natural times in your day that you do sit down. And so that is very, very natural. Coffee started maybe my second baby. And that helped. That gave me something, a reward to wake up to in the morning and to have that time with the Lord. So I would just say, no, I guess that was something I'm thankful my parents instilled in me, is that I had devotions from 4 years old on. Like that was, as soon as I could read, I was having my own devotions. So that was never an option for me to give that up during the day.
Right.
So it looks different. It looks different. I remember the first camp meeting I went to with Caleb as a baby and just leaving the services, every single service, I couldn't be in the services. And we lived so far away. And when I got into services, I barely could go in and sit down without crying. I just loved the services so much. Yeah. And leaving as a mom during those times was hard. So it was a different relationship with the Lord during that time. Yeah. So some of those things, just understanding that life is different. Yeah. And that it's okay.
And it's okay. Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah. The Lord still loves you, and you can love the Lord in those very different seasons of life. I remember my favorite thing, people will come and say, make sure you're enjoying your kids while they're young. I just want to be like, are you enjoying the Lord, your moments with the Lord while you're sitting on your rocker and have all this free time to have 2 hours of devotions, because just enjoying where you're at, right in those moments. Yeah. You're not going to be able to analyze and enjoy every single moment that sometimes an older person looks back and wishes they had. It's just, you're in the throes of it. It's busy.
What would be a couple, maybe one, non-negotiable as a mother? You're looking at a young mother, maybe even your daughter's getting married and they're expecting a child, and she comes in and says, Mom, what are some non-negotiables when it comes to raising my kid? What would you tell somebody in the next generation?
Well, if anyone that knows us really well, it'd be to keep your kids safe.
Okay. Yes.
This has probably been a top priority for us.
That's good.
It's the number one reason we homeschool. There's a lot of great options, but we have heard of, when we first got married, there were so many people that we knew that were leaving the faith, that I think because I've come from a broken home, that people feel comfortable talking to me. So it's very prevalent how many kids get hurt. And keeping our kids, we pastored inner city, which might have been part of it, but we never left our kids leave the pew where we were at until they were till they were 10 years old. Okay. And this maybe is extreme, and we are extreme. I don't know anyone else who's done it. Right. But till Caleb was 10 years old, I had never, as far as I know, never left him out of my sight. Like he didn't go around the corner of a building out of our sight. So then when he reached about 10, then we started pairing them up.
Okay.
So that's
good. I think
that is extreme.
Yeah, no. I think
But-
that idea of keeping our kids safe, because our world is broken and the abuse that we see is very, very prevalent.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think predators use churches as an opportunity to do those kinds of things. And so that was one of our practices, was our kids are a priority. They wouldn't spend the night.
No.
All of those kinds of things. If there's an event, even with the youth group to this day,
Yes.
our son Colt is 15. He doesn't go alone.
Absolutely.
We're going with him. And
it's a huge, and it really shapes them. Plus, you know what their attitudes are. You know their interactions with their friends. You know, they go and play out after church. And I remember we moved to Indiana, and I was so embarrassed because no one knew our little weird family guidelines.
Right.
You know, and all the women hung out inside the church, and I felt I was the one that went out and watched them on the playground. But within 4 or 5 weeks, all the moms were out there with me.
Oh wow.
So God, it can seem insurmountable. It can seem like such a hard thing to do, but God has opened up so many.
Yeah. How did you encourage devotions in your kids' lives?
Oh,
when did you start kind of tipping your hand that direction?
As soon as they prayed, they'd clap their hands and pray on the high chair.
Yeah.
But I gave them little picture Bibles before they could ever read. And we did a lot of things together with that. They love to read. I got them little clip-on lights. This is what I would recommend to any family. But we homeschooled, so our schedule could be a little
flexible,
more flexible. But I was also very structured, so they did start school at the same time every day.
That's
good. My mom was very structured.
Sure.
But we put those clip-on lights on their bed, and then they could read their devotions. And we'd say, however many books you read tonight, or how many people you pray for, that's how many books you can read.
Oh, wow.
And then you could turn the light off. They would go to bed on their own.
Okay.
But they were tired and whatever.
Sure.
But I think that instilled in them that quiet time to read their Bible and pray before they went to bed.
Sure.
And Caleb was very sensitive. He was strong, but he was very sensitive.
Yeah.
So often he would do devotions. The three of them were in a room together. He would often do devotions with them. I would hear them over there praying and reading together.
Sure.
Good memories. But those little things, and then just progressing the Bibles. I love get them Bibles, get them their names on them, get them Bible cases, just invest in that.
Yeah.
We did so many CDs. I think I have every one out there.
So now the kids are a little older. When's the last time you had to leave a service with a kid? It's not very often, right? Because you're reaping the fruit of your labor.
Yeah.
Looking back, this is kind of wrapping it up, but looking back at your childhood, and now your children's childhood, what are some final thoughts that you'd give to some moms and dads who are watching this podcast? That you just would love to look everyone in the eye and say, don't miss this, or remember this. What would you say to them?
Probably just wrapping up, I would just say that kids can be holy, teaching them they can be set apart.
Amen.
And that they're set apart not just from the bad, but they're set apart to what's good.
That's so true.
There's such a purpose and there's a vision, and they can have, the world is exciting, and they can go into it and do great things for the Lord. There's a vision casting as parents that we can give them.
Yes.
That being holy is not just a negative thing, but it's a beautiful thing.
Positive.
And we've laughed about it because I was kind of always in our family in our marriage, I was probably the one that focused on the holy, the training, whatever. Okay, and Matt was just the fun.
The joy.
Oh my goodness.
That's how it is in our relationship too.
And you need that balance. Like if we were both that intense, holy, always memorizing scripture or whatever, or he comes in and brings the levity and creates that humor and that fun, and being a Christian is fun. So the holy and the happy. I like that. And then holy and happy and just getting fully involved in ministry. Plugging in somewhere with, where you are with what you have.
So we need to make a banner to be able to put over the door of your house, or maybe over the sofa in your living room. Holy and happy.
Yes.
And I think that's God's model. I really do. So, well, Dorcas, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share with us. I know that this is going to be a benefit to people watching And one of these days we'll have you back, and we'll talk about some of the more nuanced things of being a mother and training, how to actively train our children. So
Definitely haven't done it all right. Hope that doesn't come across, because the Lord has been with me every step.
No. We're on a journey, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I still have some young ones I have to keep. I'm working on hard right now.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to those young ones.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.